All right. Now, everyone, welcome to Airbrush Down Dirty Tricks Thursday night Iwo-Jima Memorial Painting Part 2. We're going to finish off this tonight. So, for those you don't remember, we left off the painting midstream. We are going to go and finish this thing up. But first, I want to show you a couple things I promised the people I'd show that I'm working on. Let me show you where we left off to begin with. And we're going to go here. So you can see we got a reference material, reference image in the bottom left corner.
I'm going to start Facebook, and I'm going to listen for it getting messed up, so don't like start thinking.
Deep breath. This is Steve Leahy. It's a Steve Leahy moment. What could go wrong? Right?
Oh. Hold on.
Kaylee has a eureka moment.
It said on the... Hold on, I need to check what mic YouTube is looking for. I mean, not YouTube. Facebook, because I think it's looking for the MacBook.
But I had it set to this one.
Maybe not.
So, I don't know. It is hot today, sir. It's your weather. We are about 92 degrees today. Yeah, about 92, 93. We're still really hot. The studio's really hot. And I had to shut the AC off because I thought that might have been doing the feedback. But we're doing all right. It's going to rain tonight, so it should cool things off. And it should get rid of some of the smoke in the air from Nova Scotia. So we got some of the smoke and pollen from the wildfires in Nova Scotia coming down this way. That's making it hazy.
There's wildfires in Nova Scotia right now?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Oh, keep up on news, kid.
I don't pay attention to the news.
I know. All right. So I wanted to talk really quick. And I want to show you guys something really quick. And I've talked about it before, but I haven't, done it. Is how I make my favorite paint strainers, okay? Which are super easy and cheap to do. And they're less than $5 to build the first one, and then you can pretty much build them over and over again infinitely for the cost of, next to nothing. So, what you get is...
A new car.
You get a new car. No. You don't get a new car. Let's go side by side. Get yourself one of these, and look, I even put a QR code up for it. It's a 1/2-inch short forged nut brass fitting. Okay, a 2-pack's like $8. Okay, so less than 4. All right, that's first part you need. Second part, 3/4-inch tobacco screens. So, also, QR code right to Amazon. It is $5 for 200 of these. Okay? So, and that's it. That is all you need to build the strainers I love to use so much. Because they literally... Piece here. And I did record a video earlier today of this. It's a little cleaner. And push it in with your pinky. Just push it down. It catches the threads. And that's it. Perfect filter to use. You can even double up the screens if you want an extra filter. Extra filtered. And so I think that works out to be like $4.08. And if you buy these even more, you can probably get them even cheaper than that. Okay? So that is how I make my favorite strainers. And you should always strain your paint. It does make life a lot better. Your paint mixes is a lot better. Is a lot better, not is. Hopefully the sound is still good. There you all got that. So yep, so those are the screens. I'll put the links in the description as well when I get off this feed. And then there's the brass. So you can come back to that later. Actually, Kayla, if you open my Notepad app, which is on the bottom toolbar, you can find the Notepad. The links are right there. Kaylee's gonna post them up as well. Both of them. So the first short one is the screens, and then the second one is the pipe fitting. So hope that's kind of cool for you. And while we're got this up, don't forget our lovely sponsors and products we like to use. It's the same size as the paint cup. Yeah, so check it out. So it's perfect because the way that's beveled, it sits right in perfectly on that. Or standard. It's really good to go.
I didn't realize that you can't do
So check it out. We got our paint mix from last week, which is the green we're using here. Instead of risking it and making sure maybe something dried in there, we're just going to strain it through.
Do you want the links on Facebook too?
Sure. Alright, so hopefully the audio is still good for everyone. And now we have our paint. And we are back in business. That's the same paint we used last week. I just poured it out and saved it in one of these bottles and capped it off. I didn't leave it to the airbrush like I normally would. And we're ready to get back into action. Okay. So good. Sound is still good. Everything's still good. Ready. Let's take this off. And remember, this is... There we go. All right. Audio is good on YouTube. Yeah, so the Facebook was messing it up on both, actually. When we killed Facebook, it started to be better here. And now I think it's fine on Facebook. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm going to have you turn the AC back on then, because it's already
way too hot in here.
It's already, yeah, it just jumped up. Yeah, it's like 80, 85 degrees up in here. Tough to keep a third floor of a house.
Especially an old house.
Yeah, I even opened the skylights to try to let the hot air out, and it didn't help. All right, so this is where we left off last week. All right, we have we kind of finished up this gentleman here, and I meant to go on and get all the information on these guys, and I didn't. I apologize. It's been a busy week. So we are just going to keep going where we were. And I'm going to move in and out. Remember, I always try to work background to foreground. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to go to this guy here who's in the background, because these two guys are kind of in the foreground for the most part. He's the most, actually, in the foreground here. So, basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick out some of the major areas, and I'm just going to get it loose, and then I'm going to move to what we've been doing with the paper cut. Oops. I want that one. There we go. Do you guys like this angle, or do you like the side-by-side? Because I can also do, I think, side-by-side with the reference image, but it's a little bit, cuts off some of it. Alright, anyway, so we can actually pull off a few sections of him. I'm going to pull off his back leg. Most of it. Like I said, this file is available still on MacKayFineArt.com. I just tear that out. I didn't actually create the leg vector here. And I could kind of do that pretty easy, but it just kind of blends in. So I'm not going to worry too much about it, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint just down the bottom here, like super dark. And I'm going to add in a little bit of wrinkles. They're not there in the photos, but we know they are, so I'm just going to add those in. And right about there, then I'm going to pull the rest of it off. So side by side, let's try with the reference on. Like I said, it might be a little in the way, but I can't change that. I may be able to...
Ooh, Gary with $25.
Oh, thank you, sir! Super chat!
Oh, I muted the thing. Hold on.
Thank you, sir! Still no cowbell.
I muted it because I was worried that was causing
Yeah,
a problem.
no, I know, that's fine. So let's see, I could take this, and I can try to move it, try and do this live. There we go. Yes, technology. There we go. All right. So yeah, there we go. That works good. I like that. Might have to. Maybe make that a preset. All right, and we're gonna put a little camo on the helmet, which is gonna be just simple enough to do with a little detail template. And then we're going to also bring up the black airbrush paint, which is this. Again, we're going to thin that through.
Honey with $20 and the sticker man.
Sticker man! That is amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's a really long one. Okay, it's over. Oh, it's a big tip though, so we get.
Plus the sticker.
Alright, so then we got the darker here, which is a little bit near black. But it's that same color. I added a little bit of black to it like last week. And I might add some more illustration black to it this week, just to get it a hair. Like a drop. And get that all mixed up. Make it up for missing last week. You don't have to make up for it. We know you're always here in spirit. Alright, alright. And we still have a current bid on this of $175. Don't forget, we can take bids all day.
Current, is it the current bid?
Current bid, I think it's $175.
Yes, it is $175.
Alright. So, we're going to get back here, a little darker. Just get under here in the belt a little bit. Like I said, these are just quick registrations. Oops. I'm going to take the back here, which I think that's a jacket. I'm going to fold it over. And I'm just hitting this registration because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the paper cut for all the detail.
Oh, 200 from Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen, thank you very much, sir.
Gary said actually 200 with my chat, just saying.
Oh yeah, you got to remind. I can't keep track of all that. It's unless you remind me. So we're kind of tied at 200, but one's a chat, and it's.
Now I don't know what to do because technically Michael was first in saying a $200 bid.
We'll see where we end up. Because a 2-week painting is probably and should go for a little more than 200. So we'll just have to see where we end up. No, it's not Oracle vinyl. I never use that stuff. The Oracle vinyl, this is FBS blue. This is some of the nicest vinyl you can use. It's the most curved, leaves no residue, no issues with it. The blue, I don't like the tack of the blue. It's really low, and even though it's transparent, it's kind of okay. But I've had a lot of issues with it leaving glue behind. I like a lot of Oracle. It doesn't like solvent that much, and I've just had too many reaction problems with Oracle. I like their vinyl, but I just don't like. Okay, so Gary is at officially 250, which is a 225 plus his chat. Okay. All right, that clears up that. Oh, I should have cleaned this out a little bit better. I thought I cleaned this last week. And my nozzle is kind of junky, so give me a sec, everyone. I got some paint inside my air cap that I didn't clean out. So I'm going to do a little cleaning. Hello, Uncle Roger. How are you? You're welcome, Tim. Yeah, like I said, I like Oracle. I used to like their clear gray, but again, I had some students have issues with that, so I stopped using that too. And once FBS came out with all their stuff, I never really looked back because this stuff just works so perfect. Yeah, so I'm just taking the little Q-tips. I gotta clean this out a little bit. I guess I didn't do a good enough job cleaning it last week. Little technical difficulties. Sorry guys, I just had to dump the paint out of the gun, so I tried taking the paint off. Tried taking the air cap off. Sorry guys, my fluid nozzle is all clogged, which I didn't realize. So I tried pulling the air cap off and head cap, figured I could leave the fluid nozzle, and it came off at the same time, basically flooding everything. My bench with paint. So now I'm playing quick cleanup live. So we'll get it. Yeah, it was all chunky up inside here. I thought I got it all last week and I didn't. And it's been so hot up here. I even put it away wet, you know, basically leaving some reducer in there, but so now I gotta clean the whole head out. And I had to shut the stream off before you heard me swearing up a storm. The gun just wasn't performing right. So I think that one was good. Yeah, I even, like I said, yeah, I have less problems when I leave paint in there for the week. This time, I thought I cleaned it and I didn't. The only benefit to this happening, it usually makes the gun work 100 times better. Yes, but does it happen to you when you're live trying to finish a painting in front of 30 some odd people? That's when it's even so much more fun. What's Mr. Leahy saying?
Did I miss that one?
Everyone missed him because I muted the microphone fast enough. All right. Now let's hope I have enough paint to finish this. I should. I'm gonna have to do some. I'm gonna have some edits. Yeah, yep. But the only thing now is now the brush is really working as it should. So silver lining. Is we're all good now. So here's the airbrush shot is to see that you stop airbrush. So I knew it was being weird. I was trying to compensate, and then I tried to fix it on the fly, and it just went haywire. That happens. It happens. What could go wrong? Cheers.
3.
Yeah, take 3. Yeah, let's take 3. Who'll edit this out? No one will ever know a thing. Nothing.
We love editing.
What's that?
We love editing.
Yeah. All right. So, let's go with our paper cut. Like I said, what I could do is 2 things. We can do actually both. I'll show you both techniques. I gotta find over there. There's some pencil leads to your left. I think there's like a tray of pencil leads.
What color is it?
They're just solid charcoal.
Oh, wow, I'm blind.
Right in front of you.
These are pencil leads, and I was imagining like.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna take an 8B. and I'll just show you this guy. So this is how I do it. If I want to transfer like pencil, so I can freehand it all, this is how I would do it. Because I'm not a big fan of Sorel paper anymore. It's too waxy, it leaves a too thick of a trail behind. So I prefer this. I take a little pencil. I usually rub it out a little bit, that way it's a little bit softer. Be a pen. No.
A pen?
Right, is that a pen?
Yes.
Okay. So now we take the guy, we're going to line him up, which is actually trickier. There we go. Quite right. Yeah, so now I can go in and I can just kind of transfer
what do bids on such a piece go up to? It depends. Something like this would go for a bit higher than most normal streams.
Yeah, so usually
this is taking 2 streams.
So we've had some go up to as high as 500 or 600. I think we had one at 8, which was that was the
Viking?
no, that was the Jack.
Yeah. That one took 3, right?
No, it was 2.
Was there one that took 3 streams?
No. So now you see I'm transferring the pencil, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You can really see it. But see now, what that gives you is now you can see all the pencil lead. So if you want to just freehand from there, you can. Or, this is how I like to do it, we can take our cutting mat, and we're going to cut all our shadows. So when you download this file, which is on MacKayFineArt.com, right there, that will give you access to this vector with the 4 or 5 part like multi-layer stencil that you can actually cut in vector if you want, or you can cut actually cut it by hand, or like with a plotter if you'd like, and you have all these layers in 4 or 5 parts, and you'll actually have everything you need. Down here I'm not going to worry too much about. Actually I will, but this is where the boot is. So you see what I'm doing? I'm just coming in here. See what we got. You know, this is traditional paper cut technique. Nothing super inventive. We've all been doing it for years, but if you haven't experimented with paper cut, it's a great way when you're working from a photo reference, especially a historical one, because you can get all your lights and darks and shading. Do I have a discount code for free scotch? Well, if you bid enough, then yeah. What kind of bottle are we talking? A bottle of Louis? We can do a bottle of Louis. I'll trade you that. Now, I was gonna kind of get cute, and probably should have time-wise, and pre-cut all this stuff ahead of time. But I think it's important, for this one being a lesson, to see most of it in real time. Because this one actually bleeds into the other guy, so we're just going to cut some of that now while we're here. But, you know, this is some of the painstaking part of doing this technique. But it's really quick overall, comparative to other stuff. Do you just paint straight from print from Photoshop? No, so what I do, I'm going to show this technique. I'm in the middle of setting up a Patreon page, and that's where I'm going to do a lot more with the tech side of it, because I'll do some tech videos, then we'll do some other how-tos. So I have some coming out. A lot of them will be free, but there'll be some paid ones as well, because the tech stuff just takes so much time, and nobody wants to watch it live. So, I go to Photoshop and I posterize it and knock it down to like 5 or 6 colors, so it looks, you know, basically looks like this, but it's really blocky. But that's posterized. Then I bring that into Illustrator and line up my cut files with my image. Alright, so let's work with that. I'll bring that out. So now I can line this guy up to here. So now you'll see how much this will just make it kind of pop and give me that registration I need. See, that already starts to give me that shape. Now I know his leg is right here, so I can just use like a stencil, like my Pocket Graphics, just to kind of get underneath that and kind of break that up, because it all kind of blends in together in the black eventually. So got the wrinkles in the pants, and here's the seam. But you see how just by adding that shadow, that gives me the roadmap to start freehanding like all these little seams and wrinkles to kind of work off the photo. Like I said, I don't go too far in this stage. Get down here where the bootleg and boot is, and that gets a much better separation. So now I have everything I need here, so I can get this sleeve. we're going to work on this hand more towards the end. And the key is to really not, when you have the stencil down, don't spray too much too fast. If you do, it tends to take a lot to actually soften some of the lines out of it. Because ultimately you don't want that stencil look when it's done. So now I'll look down here and see where these other heavier wrinkles are, and we'll cut those guys out. And this is more illustration style painting than like, freehand, obviously freehand airbrush style. You basically, illustration, you use every trick in the book, from stencils to paper. If this wasn't going under clear coat, this was going to be like an illustration on board. I could get away with chalks and more paintbrush and all sorts of stuff like that. When you see like fine art illustrators like Lorenzo Sperlonga and like Luis Royo and guys, well, the fantasy art guys, they throw everything. And there's, that's the way to really do an original painting. Is just you throw everything at it that you can. I tend to stick with traditional airbrush technique only, because in like automotive, you can't put your white highlights in with chalk and then clear over it. You can, but I promise you there'll be problems down the road, and it'll probably leave some problems when the clear coat starts to cure through, and your customer won't be happy. So, yeah, I tend not to do anything like that. Oh, Calvin Jones, thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I mean, the pot graphics, they came out so long ago, and they come in so handy for different stuff, especially doing, really everything. And that's kind of how they came about, as like the Swiss Army knife. I actually wanted to use that term, but they told me I shouldn't use the Swiss Army knife term because they didn't want like a copyright strike or something, in the actual advertising. So. Get that belt off. Oh, where's mine? Belt. The belt has a couple little buckles. Let's see, it's got like one here. I'm just gonna do little flood strokes. So I'm gonna flood that in, and then we'll erase. Hey, Marshall, what's going on, man? Now it's just a metal holder with a partial P. Oh. Yeah, it was funny because we had them we did them a few different ways, and it would hold them in lacquer thinner, but for some reason, like isopropyl alcohol isopropyl alcohol can take this etching off. I originally tried to laser etch them, and they look cool, but they don't stay dark enough. They were kind of hard to see. So yeah, that's the only thing I was a little disappointed. Now I do have, for those who want to get nostalgic, I have like 50 of them left, and I haven't put them up. I have the original plastic holders, because they don't manufacture. The original holder that Plotter came out was a plastic holder, and it actually like double flipped and became a little stand, like an easel, where you put them in. And you know, you just have to keep lacquer away from them, the stands, because they would make them brittle and crack. But we tried like hell to get those this time, and they don't make them. So that's why we did the stainless steel, which I love the stainless steel ones. Just obviously there was an issue with that. What do we got? Oh, Gary is stepping up his bid. Thank you, Gary. Hanson still Hanson still has a plastic version. Calvin, thank you very much for everything. Yeah, like I said, Steve, I found a box from way back when we first made them. And I still have them in my shop. Actually, I was clearing out storage and found all sorts of fun stuff. Dude, telling you, getting rid of a storage unit that you've had for years and realizing that half the stuff in there is worthless and you're just paying this monthly fee for it. So the storage, they tried to go up to $300 a month for the storage unit, and I wasn't having it. And, you know, I got plenty of room here. I was just being lazy. And so I found a whole bunch of stuff, including, where is it? If you look back, look at that. That is like an old 1980s, late 80s Vader two-piece wearable shell. So that was fun to find. Alright, so we're going to get this leg fully dark, because that's pretty much all black. And remember what I said last week, I want to get them all to the same level, then I'll do all the little final picks and stuff like that. Well, I think the last time I painted, I should have known better, but I figured I could kind of, you know, I've done it so many times I could breeze through it. And I think the last time I did one of these, it took me about 6 hours, but it was much bigger. It was on a tailgate. I remember the guy arguing why it cost so much. He said, well, it's 6 hours of work plus all the prep and everything else, so, and then clear and blah, blah, blah. So no, it's not $200. Put this on your whole back of your trailer. Cool. I think that's good. Now, this is perfectly set up for doing multiple techniques for like getting highlights. Because we have a white panel, and this is the Create Text illustration, I can go in and erase for highlights, or the lighter parts of something. Like, there's a little, like a badge or a little seal inside of his head, so I can erase that out. Or I could take the electric eraser with the small tip, and I can go in for all these little buttons. I just hit them. Or I can take the bigger eraser and do like some larger sweeps. I can go right around those wrinkles. You just kind of work things through like that.
Oh, Michael, I'll keep it.
Thank you very much, man. Much appreciated.
325.
So we're at 325. So that's what I like about this point, because I can go back through all these and start bringing out highlights. And that's what makes it nice and easy once I get to all this unmasked, it's in this shade. I'm almost going in and like drawing and refining and really getting a chance to create the scene and really like hone it together. Like I said, this is something I'll finish most of this tonight, and then there'll be little details and stuff that'll go at the end, but I don't think this will require going into a third painting, even though it did take an hour to get to this guy because of all the time. But last time we did a lot more. So, all right. Oh, there's one more piece of him I gotta get off. He's got his knife right here. And that's mostly dark. And that is really, it's pretty much black except for the edge. I'm going to do a little bit of extra so you can like see the, you know, the sheath and you know, the handle of the knife. And I'm also doing this whole painting with just eclipses, because I keep going back and forth with people that are so hopped up on getting a micron or a micron copy, or you know, something that has a 0.18 nozzle, thinking it's going to give them better detail. And the answer is it will when you really know how to use it and get the paint out of something like that. But for the most part, a 0.35 or even a 0.30 if you want to get it with a plus will probably do 90% to even, I mean really 100% of the heavy lifting for it. The micron's 0.16, it's a good status to say I got one and I know how to use it. But it's not going to make you paint better. I always tell people you're better off buying like 2 or 3 for that matter. Buy like 2 eclipses and an HPC Plus, and master those before you spend all your money on a micron or micron-like gun. Because there's a lot of guns out there that aren't microns, they just put the same size needle and nozzle, like a 0.23, 0.25, but they're not the same head technology. They're not the same, they don't work the same. So, but like I said, you don't even need them. Unless you really, once you like really need them. And you'll know when you really need them, but I think most people have trouble with airbrushes because they're using airbrushes at 0.23, 0.18. They have trouble getting the paint through it. Okay, good. That's nice, good. Done. Alright. I still love my 0.18 Krios. Yeah, like I said, the 0.18's great because they work great. But you'll get a lot more use overall out of a 0.3. You know, because you have atomization for thicker paints down to thin. You know, there's nothing wrong with loving it, but the problem is most people get them way too early before they even know what to do with a 0.18, and they fight getting the paint through it. Yep.
What Gary said, I don't know. I assumed Michael was bidding because he went higher than what you said yours was.
Was Michael bidding or making a statement? I think Michael bid that.
Because your total was 300.
Your total was 300.
325, so I assume that means he was bidding to up.
Or was he thinking you went to 325? So Michael Cohen, if you want to clarify, so Gary is at 300. Is it basically 275 with his 25 bid?
25.
So he's at 300. So if you're bidding 325, you'd be the higher bidder.
Yes.
To avoid any confusion. I don't know if you were making a statement or not, so we'll just clear that up. Thanks, Gary, for pointing that out. You're looking back, it is kind of, I took it either way.
That was a bid.
Okay, so that's a bid. So your official bid is 325.
Okay.
Got it? We're clear. And Gary's bid was at 300, which included his $25 super chat. Got it. That's where we're at. Okie dokie. All right. So now we're going to move on to this gentleman. We're here, the next one in line. I'm going to take his hand. I'm going to pull down the trousers here. I'm not pulling his pants off. I'm pulling the masking. It represents his pants off. Because that is not that kind of painting. Just to be clear. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hit his hand. Which again, most of these hands are really silhouetted. I'll do some paper cut. To flesh out some of the final details at the end. And a lot of that little stuff is going to be mostly done off camera if I run out of time, just because it's not going to be worth going back to it. But you'll get the gist of everything. But see how it was nice putting working him, now I'd go to him, and then in the stages all work together. Hello, Green Camaro, Gary. Hello, hello, hello. So we got his pants down there. Here's this. I'm going to pull his helmet off. Back, we'll do a little quick cheating of the camo because it just helps. Hi, Tim. Thank you very much for popping in. I appreciate it. I don't think anyone's over on Facebook. Yep, no one. Anyone on Facebook? Say hi if you are.
Not anymore.
This is 0.
There was 3 when I first started it.
Dude, I remember I used to put a Facebook Live up, and as soon as I put it up, there'd be like 100 people on it. But I think just so many people started doing live feeds, people just kind of got disinterested in a lot of them. Okay, so I got here, and now I can pull off his whole upper torso area. And I gotta see where he's at. Alright, let's get back to some paper cut. Because we have all this that we can use. And most of that was kind of dark up there, so we got that, just kind of lays that out. Let's get down the lower legs here, and we're going to flesh out that stuff. So I'm working like the darkest one, then the second darkest one. And if you look at the actual file, if you download it, it's broken down with these these two tabs here. When if you were to do the mask, they would line up each case, and you'd spray the dark, and then put the next one on, spray the next lightest dark color, and up the chain. Then you'd basically, if you did all 4 of them, you would have this image like that all blocked out, and then you would just soften it or leave it. This is where I wish I had Mr. Leahy's knife skills. Steve does a great job every Monday night explaining the master of figuring out the paper cut. Thank you, Mike MacKay. I'm right in assuming this is my cousin Mike MacKay from Florida. Or is it another Mike MacKay?
That would be interesting.
Well, there's a lot of MacKays out there. Because he's part of the family that didn't change the name to M-A-C. Yeah, we were the only ones that actually went through the burden of changing it. Yeah, Michael, this is just standard printer paper. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy. Yeah, just regular printer paper. Yeah, he's pretty good with the blade. You don't want to get into a street fight with him with a number 11. He will carve some funky stuff into you. Imagine Steve as a slasher killer? Man. Stuff he could make you into.
It is your cousin.
Good to see you, man. Thank you for popping in over here. It's much nicer over here than over on Facebook. As you'll tell, the feed quality is much better. And overall, hope all is well down there in FL. We're doing a nice memorial piece. This is capping off Memorial Day weekend. There we go, that goes there, that goes there. And we're in. Like I said, when I do this, death by a million tiny cuts. There was an old, really bad B-movie, horror movie from back in our youth called Student Bodies. If any of you remember that horrible movie, the first kill in it used the most unconventional, most ridiculous thing instead of whatever else he had. Does anyone remember, that movie Student Bodies, which is horrible, and what one of the first kills was that he finds in the desk to kill the girl at the beginning? I know I was going to do some trivia tonight, but that just popped into my head. It was really random. Super random, I know. an exact. He has an evidence can. Oh, that's awesome. Cheers to that, honey. That was great. He really misses calling as a neurosurgeon. Right? Pays better than art. That's for damn sure, man. That is for damn sure. I'm going to zoom this camera out a little bit. There we go. So you can see better. Get him toned in. This is pretty much just black, and here it just all blends in together. What do we got?
So did you see the thing about Green Camaro saying Steve really missed his calling as a neurosurgeon?
Yes.
So
Oh, the neurosurgeon pays a lot better than art. I thought you were talking about being a murderer.
And so Steve said, "Trust me, Gary, I did not." They said families don't want to hear what could go wrong.
So this is true. Because picture Steve trying to happily explain to the family, well, it was going really well. And then it wasn't. So you can see how like green it is when it starts, and then as you tone over it. I didn't do as much green here, so I think the green settled a little bit during the week. So that's why I like to try to get all the toning at the same time, because I'll go back in here and we'll start adding that green. So the first guy, he'll tone in with everything else. We are at 9/11. That is another date to remember and memorialize.
Oh.
What's that?
Sorry, I missed what Roger sent on Facebook.
Oh.
I saw Melbourne.
Hey, Roger.
I thought
Michael's over on YouTube. Got two of you on tonight. Thank you for popping in from Melbourne.
Is there a Melbourne in Australia?
Yes.
Okay, because that's what I thought when I saw that. I'm very confused.
Yes, they're not the same place. right, we will do exactly, Michael. Like we talked about at the beginning, a lot of people, when they see this, they only think it's 4 guys, but it's really 6 in this photo. There's a gentleman right here, and there's another guy behind here. And we'll definitely go in, we'll get some erasing techniques. I love doing wrinkles with the erasing technique because it adds a little harshness that the airbrushing doesn't. You know, it makes it more crisp and just really kind of ties it together nicely. Now we'll get to right here. Let me show you another quick trick for how to eradicate paint, because we're going to use this throughout. Use your finest airbrush. If you have a Micron, use it. Straight 70 or 90% isopropyl alcohol in it. And it's awesome for eradicating paint, and you get a really soft. Let me see if I can get to, you gotta have the paint pretty thin. I think my paint's a little too thick in these areas to make it happen. Like if I'm doing like the buttons, I can do straight on, you'll see it erase right down to white, but this is another great way to do it. Once it gets all soft, you can really start pulling some really cool, almost wrinkles. Yeah, Big Squatch, yeah, that's a tough job, man, to do, because, you know, yeah, you gotta basically F people up to hope they get better, and explain that to them, and then explain to them when it doesn't work, you know, and when they say doctors make too much money, yeah, I don't think so when it comes to having to deal with that. I'm just kind of refining some things about this guy I'm not liking. Basically, just comparing to the photo. Like I need this to be pretty harsh right here. Cool. All right, all right, all right. So, we got a bunch of stuff going on here. Just gotta get my bearings. I'm going to pull down the base here. So it's just his lower legs, and then he's got all his pockets and stuff here. We're going to leave that. And that's his knee. So his legs come forward here. Here's his, so this is right leg, and this is left leg's behind. I'm also going to pull his face here, where his face is, which is really in silhouette. If you look at the photo. If you look here, so we're working right here. So it's super dark. This whole area is black, pretty much. This is all black. This is all black. So we're going to work from this. And while I have it off, let's get this stuff cut. I want to thank all you guys for sticking with this one. I know this is kind of a slow-moving project compared to all the other stuff, which I try to like flash through and make it you know, done really quick. But I think with what this one symbolizes, a little time and extra care is worth it. I want to thank the guys for the good bids. We're at a good place. We're very happy.
$325.
We got $325 for this painting. So the original time I did this on a trike, you know, this design, just to give you guys bearings of like how I price stuff up, because there's a lot of back end work that's not done here live. You know, the setting it up, the stencils, all that stuff. So this would be about between $800 and $1,000, say on a gas tank or on, you know, the bed of a truck or something like that. That's about the range in where I would put this. As a mural, it'd be about between $800 and $1,000. You know, that's not including like if there's any, you know, base coating or heavy clear coats or things like that. That's just the initial. That'd be just the initial like artwork side of it. Is where I would put something like this. Clutch Pyro, how you doing? Thank you for popping in. Just cutting these shadows out. And I cut them rough. I'm just getting my bearings. The rest will come freehand and softening. I'm not trying to get every little nook and cranny. You know, like I said, plotting this, you could plot it, stick the whole thing, and just spray a color. But that comes with its own challenges. And maybe I'll do that in a video once. Because there's a con to doing it that way. Because it definitely gets a, if you're not careful with it, a lot of sticker look to the piece. Because if you spray it pretty harsh, and because the mask is actually stuck to the actual piece, you can't hide any of that. You know, you can't hide the fact that it was masked. It takes a lot of basically light touch and then a lot of freehand to kind of get rid of all that. So I tend not to plot like all this stuff. I'd rather take the time to paper cut it like this and like work it from there. So I hope everyone's weekend's gonna be better than ours. It looks like we're gonna get rained out this weekend, which stinks. I finally got my pool. Like last week, I was having issues getting the heater up and running because it was so cold at night that the heater was actually freezing during the middle of the night. I was icing up the heat pump basically. So it took me a bit to get it. I got it heated up. We had it for Saturday, and then Sunday ended up being like 60-something degrees and cool, and basically, you know, wasted. It's not a waste, but You know, at that point, the pool just wasn't really hot anymore. Okay, here's a little trick, because this leg here is actually brighter than the leg behind it. We sprayed the leg behind it earlier, and I'm going to show you that in just a sec. So you got like a positive and negative stencil at this point, depending on which guy you're painting. I'll show you that in just a second. This is going to make a really nice time-lapse video, because watching this for you guys 4 hours, I really appreciate the dedication to the channel. But I don't see anyone rewatching 4 hours of this. Unless they, you know, the people who download the project, I think will, obviously, for very good reason. Okay. So now we get to put that shadow, all that cutting for a few seconds of spraying. But it becomes worth it, because now it establishes the legs. Now we'll start freehanding. We got all the wrinkles. We know where they all are. These will come through. This is a really good time to use the soft eradication of like the liquid, because there's very little paint here. An HPB. Oh, so the HBB, that's the side feed, right? Yeah. Flex, what's going on, man? Thanks for popping in. Thank you, thank you. Ah, Flex is on Facebook too. You gotta cover both sides. So now you'll see there's very little paint here, so if I take the straight alcohol, it's a lot easier to kind of push that paint out and get that soft. You always have to let it get working, and then it gives a really nice soft effect as opposed to erasing or scratching. Like I said, you can erase as well. Like come in here and just I think erasing is one of my favorite techniques I learned over the years working with artists like Drew Blair, Corey St. Clair. You know, watching them do this and what it brings to the table was so helpful. I think I really embraced it the most when I did the Walking Dead bike, because it really just... Hey, Brad. Thank you for popping in, sir. And now we're all dark down in here. We got a drop shadow up the leg from this basic stick. This is almost blurry down here. It's blurry in the photograph too. Does the alcohol move the paint? So it does both. Actually, it does move it. So when you look at it, it'll actually, and when you use the solvent paint, it's even more fantastic. When you're doing like solvent paint on thin candies, it'll actually push the paint and the center will turn white, and the edges will almost get a dark, wet look around it. It's really, really cool, and I can't really show it at this scale. But it's a real interesting trick to mess with. You know, practice it off on a project you're not like caring about, because it can go bad very quickly. And I wouldn't want anyone to be like, I tried your technique and it ruined my painting. Don't do that. Practice first is a must. I think when I do this rubble, I'm going to bring in some brush effects as well. Yeah, it's isopropyl, so I'm using 70% isopropyl. 90 would be better. You can also use like a, because this is Kratex, you can use the 40-20 reducer because it's really hot. Anything really hot, when you're doing like House of Color or solvent, use their like. I just use lacquer thinner in the airbrush, and it's an outstanding effect. Especially, dude, if you're doing like zombies and like skulls and gooey stuff, it does the best like in the mouth and the cheeks. It's awesome to use. It's just really. Okay, we're at 9:30. We're gonna get these guys all roughed in, and you know, the rest will just be little details. You know, with some clouds and background, will be really, really cool. I did have a vision of masking this off and then doing a full color red, white, and blue American flag like background. But that'd be a whole other painting involved. That's not going to happen with this one. That would put this into, let's do a commission illustration territory. Awesome. All right, let's get, what do we got now? Get his helmet here. His jacket. Oh, I gotta do his hand first. His hand right here, for people following along. His hand is a separate mask, so you can actually pull the helmet and that first before you pull the jacket. And you want to kind of, his hands, you can see it's wrapped around, it's curled. Yeah, so if you look at this, if you want to cut it, you could. Here, I'm going to cut it from this one, so it's got the most detail. That is a real crotch rocket. It's like the old, the little YZ50s we used to use as kids. Remember my buddy had a bike, it looked like a little CBR and it was a 50. Yeah. Actually, I think it was one of the first times I actually rode that style of a bike when I was a kid. So now I can find that hand to kind of line it up. Just click it like that. Now I have the shape, the fingers coming over. We're going to do a little camo. Detail camo. Oh, I bet they are. Because we had all the cool stuff when we were kids, and everyone wants it. Well, we all want our cool toys back that we got rid of. There we go. Now we got the jacket. And so we get to pull all the major detail here. Yeah, so I'm going to take all these dark components. Just think, if I didn't have 15 minutes of sound problems at the beginning, we would have been already done with this part. No, so Brad, what I was doing is that was straight alcohol out of the airbrush to eradicate the paint instead of erasing. Like, so we'll use the electric erasers or soft eraser stick to erase the paint to get back to the white board as a highlight. But if you use, with water-based paints, use isopropyl alcohol, you can actually like wet the paint and let the air push it aside, which is really cool. It'll go in and actually push it. Some would say it'll push it real good, but I don't know who would say that. Yeah, that was a trick I learned from working with Corey St. Clair. And he's like, oh, don't tell anyone this. I said, dude, I'm going to tell you. Someone's going to tell that little secret before you do. So I said, you got today before I show it, because I'm going to show it in class. I said, so you better get all the credit for it. He did. He put it out. And I was on the first time I think mostly anyone ever saw that being used. I'm sure we weren't the first either, but... Because realistically, when you think you're the first to do something, you're not. Not usually. Yeah, Steve caught it. So Steve, what kind of stuff you gonna hide in your cue ball, man? I got some different ideas. Like, you gotta hide like predator skulls, or like just some weird stuff. You gotta think to like Guardians of the Galaxy Ego, or there's hundreds of different skull type of things in there. And just see how many people could pick them up. There you go, Mikey got it. So here, I'll see if I can show how that works. The eradication. We just get to pull a few good lines here. The key when you do it is make sure you don't have too much paint down. So we get a little paint down, so check this out. And this is straight isopropyl alcohol in here. That's all it is. This is 70%. So if you look right here in the shoulder, we're a little dark. Might have to bring the ISO up a little bit. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can get a little more light in here. Okay, yeah, well, that's too much. Alright, so right there. So now watch, like right in here, with this little bit of paint, I'm going back and forth, and I'm actually like pushing. It's actually pushing the paint to the side. So there's a little bit on the shoulder, so watch how that highlight kind of comes out. I just eradicate it from a little bit more paint there. So maybe you can see it. So I'm going to really highlight that shoulder. And now I'm going to go right in the center. I'm going to push that paint right out the side and end up with a nice soft highlight. I can erase that whole like seam of the arm. Do some subtle wrinkles. Even up in here, we can try to bring back some of the mask and do, the helmet. If I had the 90%, it should be fairly fresh. On solvent paint, it doesn't matter. So if you're doing like House of Color, a lacquer thinner will eat right through it. Just you got to make sure you're not working over base coat. So you have to have, you want to have like a clear coated substrate. So that way you're not eating through the base color underneath. So watch, I'm going to highlight the shoulder. The shoulder is really bright right here. So I put, a little bit of paint on. And I'm going to do all these wrinkles. And just highlight that shoulder by pushing it out. And it's softer than erasing. It's softer than an X-Acto blade. Just got to get it working. See that? It's a nice way to put little highlights in without using white and worrying about blue shift or how you tint your paint and all that stuff. And if that's too scary, then yeah, go back to erasing. And you can just come in and just... A lot of times I like doing both. You can kind of sharpen some things out. And really just kind of work it. Cool? There we go. Get him back down to a 400. There we go. All right. Mask is almost ready to come off. Then we're going to be able to call this done enough, done-ish. I'll probably film, maybe I'll come in tomorrow and just film like the last little bits for anyone who wants to watch it, but I'm not going to carry this over to next week. So whoever wants to bid, get your bids in tonight. Right now we are at what, Kaylee? We are at $325 for the bid. Shipping within the U.S. is usually $20. Outside of the U.S. is usually like $35, $40. By the time we're done boxing, shipping, and all the darn paperwork. So just keep that in mind if you are in Canada. Okay, I gotta pull off. You're welcome. Down there, I gotta sit down, or if anyone's really good at editing and wants to give me a hand, you know, I gotta go through a lot of my videos and start pulling down like a bunch of these little tips and tricks and making just short videos out of them because I've done them so many times. Pull this, we're gonna pull this gun. That's a rifle. Go here. That's a pocket. Let's go back and listen to how the video started and hear that sound. So the gun is pretty much in silhouette. I'm just going to use my ruler just to kind of put a hard shadow up it and kind of use it as a straight edge. Can also use my pocket graphics for that. And here we go, we got the pocket. Little button tuck here. Just looking at the photo. And then I usually go around any edges where there was masking and just kind of poke that out. It's just and I'm probably going to mix up like a greenish white and just go through a lot of this too and do some highlighting. So that's enough where I can a little more. And now we can get all this kind of loose bark, background. And this is, I'm just going to start registering it so I know where everything is. Using Velvet of Gerald. Again, this is basically just registration of where the bulk of it is. Thank you, Michael. Depending how much I have into this will determine how much more. We can just do some spatter effects. Because in here it looks really goopy. Just a lot of trash happening. And I really want to get the mask off for everyone so you can just kind of see where we're at. And the rest is just going to be a little bit loose clouds and things like that. So let's go here. We might go a little past 10. We'll see. Let's see how we do. Just do a little spit, wipe, a little Gerald. We'll definitely do a lot of big erasing in here. This is one of those, customer wants a mural. Do you want this $600 mural, the $300 mural, the $1,400, the $3,000 mural? Because I could spend hours painstakingly replicating every blade of grass and every wrinkle perfectly if the customer values that amount of time. See what I mean? That little, just that little bit starts to add, and then I'll freehand stuff in later. This is also good because you get to a point where you can show the customer, be like, you know, hey, at this point we're at this price, you know, are you happy with it? Well, I'd like to see more detail. Well, that's going to be a little bit, you know, just you can kind of feel them out to see and say, look, you know, I'm almost done. I could put another couple hours and wrap it up, or I could put another 12 hours and make it ridiculous. So it's funny, this was painted the other day, so this erased a lot softer than this because the paint's a lot more dry. So there is a benefit to sometimes making it wait a little bit. So just go in and pick all these pieces off, because this is all the rubble and the debris. And this is going to give you another couple hours of enjoyment of a project, of just really having fun down here, looking at the photo. Actually, I don't think... Oh, I did include the photo reference. I did. This is a great area for like sponging techniques and stuff too. Yeah, there's a balance to that, Michael. Some of it is, with experience, I know that, hey, I can spend 4 more hours to get it to look really cool like this, or I can spend 8 more hours. Do you value the 8 hours, or am I going to just make it cool with 4 hours? You know, there's a certain point where you can give them a gauge, be like, this gets you this. It's kind of like tattooing. You know, the longer they sit in the chair, the more detail time the artist can put in. You know, tattooing is different because the customer is experiencing it at the same time, so they understand it. That's what's tough about selling art like airbrush art, is everyone assumes you do it so fast that, oh, it's just going to be quick. So yeah, they're definitely paying for the experience, but at some point give them a little education on experience time versus, you know, work time. Like X gets you this gets you that. Like this, I'm going to do a lot of erasing work down here. I'm going to shadow, I'm going to highlight these guys a lot more. But you can see where it's really at right now. And I know off camera, whoever's getting this, they're going to get at least another hour on this piece before I go to clear. But you can already see this is a really cool piece as it is. It just needs some refining, some extra highlighting, a little extra love. Let's give this all shade, and then I'm going to go in with some, when I do white highlights, I'm going to show you the white I'm going to use, and then I'm going to end the video. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the green that I used, and I'm going to add white to it. Use a little more. A little reduction. Let's see. That's probably a little too dark. That's what I like to do in that case. I'll put white in the cup, and I'll add a little bit of that color to it. And that's white, but if you put it on white paper, it looks green. It's almost like a gray. But that's going to be the perfect highlight color. Play with a little bit of that right now so you can see. So see that color? That looks gray. I start going over this, and I start doing like the shoulders. It starts becoming a more natural highlight. And really adds to it. If you use pure white right now, it would just really overpower it. And by doing this like tint, it's almost like using a buffering color. See, I can kind of get the shoulder out and highlight. I can soften up some of those wrinkles. I can bring up some of these highlights and the wrinkles. Yeah, I love punching the highlights up. And I was a bad habit of always doing it with white when I was, because I came from a t-shirt artist background. And what did you do at the end of the t-shirt? You just put cool white highlights, sparkles everywhere. It took me forever to stop doing that. But you can see just that little bit how it starts to change, and I can like blend some stuff out, brighten up his jacket, hit some heavy spots. And I'm just going to go through the piece like this and spend some extra time. And let's pull. Well, man, it didn't look that simple. It's still 4 hours of work. Alright, so I want to pull off the whole mask right now, and you guys can see everything, kind of what it looks like. And then I'll throw some clouds in. You guys will see a finish up shot. Remember, this mask has been on there for over a week. And it comes off perfect, leaves no glue residue. That's why I love this mask. And their tapes are the same. So you can tape a car for months, leave the tape on the car, it can get wet, it can dry. You'll come back, unmask it, you'll have no problems. So the other thing I'm going to do is, like, see how these edges, I pull this mask because this is where you're kind of seeing through the action into the background. It looks really crisp in person, so I'll soften some of these edges as well. That's great when you get to the big pieces. So this is FBS Blue mask. So they have 3 different types. They have FBS Blue, which is this stuff. Let me find it here. This is the FBS Blue. This stuff, man, you can curve this stuff on a gas tank with full detail and have almost no, or actually no ripples or wrinkles. This stuff is the most outstanding mask I've ever used. They have FBS Gold, which is this stuff. That's a paper type, so it's even thinner than this, but it doesn't bend as much because it's a paper grade, but it leaves a very soft edge versus a hard vinyl mask edge. So I use that for a lot, like illustration stuff and fine art, but it's a little different to work with, but it sticks to like rough walls and rough textured concrete. Amazing. And then they have, I don't think I have the green. They have FBS Green mask, which the green is basically like the blue, but it's transparent. You can see through it. And I got 2 pieces of mask left. And that's really it, guys. For clouds and stuff, I'm going to keep it really simple. You know, I'm going to go through and just kind of take a template and just kind of rough out. So this is that white. And then I'll take the darker colors and I'll start working that in and soften the background. Yeah, the gold is great, but it's different to work with. Where do you order FBS? So FBS, easiest place to get is Coast Airbrush. But any place that uses Cumberland as a distributor, Cumberland Distributors, so there's a lot of stores, they can order all FBS products as well. But Coast Airbrush is probably the easiest to order it online. But there are local dealers that can get it. If you go to FBS, I think it's, I don't have their website on me. It's FBS stands for Finding Better Solutions. So I think it's FBS Distributors online. They do a whole bunch of stuff. But you can look them up at coastairbrush.com. That's right, details, man, details. And I'm going to do some spitting down here and like this is happening. And we'll kind of move stuff around. Like they're planting that flag right there, right now. It's kicking up dirt. Like I said, I'm going to go in and soften some stuff up. Which stencil? This was one of the newer ones. This is from Texture Effects 3. That's what this one was from. And so we went from that, this guy here, to looking roughly like that. Like I said, there's still a little bit of work. I'm going to go ahead and soften some stuff up, but now I can like push-pull this painting and balance everything out. All the masking is off. I can spend like another half an hour on it. Kind of work these hands a little bit more. You know, now that you can see all the background, you can see what stands out, what doesn't, what needs to be balanced, what needs to be softened. Like, you know, the gaps between the legs here and the scene, they can afford to get a little, just a little tone. Then I can go back through, get this white kind of color and just do a little something down there. And then we'll sign it and clear it. And this will be off to its new owner, which, who's the high bid right now?
It's Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen is the high bidder at $325. Well, Michael, thank you very much. This painting is going home to you once I get it cleared and everything up. So if you don't have me on, you can get me on Instagram at Scott MacKay on Instagram, or Scott at thinairgraphics.com. You can email me there, and we can do PayPal, stuff like that. We'll get it all worked out, and then I'll get your address and we'll get it shipped off to you. But that is it, everyone. We got it all finished. I want to thank everyone for popping in the past 2 feeds and dealing with some of the beginning work. I want to thank everyone who downloaded this. I will record all the little finishing details and do like a little time lapse and explain the finish. And I'm going to edit this all down into a video for you guys so I have it all. And we are going to go from there. So have everyone, hope you have an awesome weekend. And thank you everyone for the support. Thank you everyone for the super chats. And we will see you all next week. Peace. See you later.